My name's Tom Ewing. I'm the Principal Data Scientist for the Department of Transport. I joined the department in mid-2015, and I didn't have a background in data science prior to joining. I'd done a lot of work in kind of data, so I'd worked building a data warehouse, and I'd spent 6 years as a stats analyst and a kind of economics analyst at various roles within government. Just out of interest, does anyone here work in government? Okay, well, just one, that's good, okay. I'll be careful what I say about government then. So when I joined, I was tasked with setting up the data science capability in DfT. And I kind of, having switched jobs and careers a few times, I was like, oh yeah, this data science malarkey could be dead easy. And then over the course of the first kind of couple of weeks, it kind of began to sink in that this is something completely different to anything I've done before. And over time, my role grew from just being a kind of data scientist to also being a kind of software developer and also a kind of a digital innovator / champion for the department as well. I believe that you can't do data science in a big organisation like Department of Transport unless you're prepared to kind of encourage the organisation to be a bit more digital. And that's a strong theme going throughout this talk. So I've been there nearly 2 years. I would say I spent the first 18 months learning, actually going out and talking to people around government, outside of government, people who had stuff to do with transport, people who didn't have anything to do with transport, and also trying to generate a bit of traction in the department. Because for the first 18 months, I was literally the only data scientist resource that we had. So within a couple of months of joining, I kind of found my feet, and we actually came up with our first data science strategy. There were actually 6 strands, but I'm only showing 3 of them because the other 3 are boring. You don't want to know about my kind of procurement and having to deal with kind of paperwork and get laptops and kind of stuff. But these were the 3 things that really mattered in terms of us actually trying to build capability in DfT. The first one is community and capability, building prototypes to generate some traction. And the last one is perhaps the most fun for me, is the digital innovation. So I'm going to talk a little bit about each of those, starting with the community. So when I joined, there were a small number of kind of enthusiasts who had kind of done a bit of Python, they'd done a bit of R. And we kind of, so one of the things we wanted to do was try and expand that, trying to get more people using some of these open source tools. Interestingly, it was really funny about, who asked the SAS question? Okay, I came from SAS in my previous jobs. Having picked up Python, I would never ever go back. I think Python, and I mean, I don't really use R. But yeah, Python and R, I think, are the future, and stuff like SAS. I think that I know a guy who works for SAS, and I think they're kind of trying to change their model to kind of counter with it. But yeah, we were trying to get people using more open source tools. We came up with some Python training, a 3-day training course, kind of highlighting all the cool stuff you could do with it. And we've just literally started doing some code clubs and stuff like web development as well. We also built the data science and transport community, and what that is, that started out as the kind of small band of us in DfT, and as I went out to visit people in Highways England, DVLA, TfL, HS2, and there was a lot of people in those organisations that were interested in data science as well. So we started to form and kind of build our community. We held like a few meetups. This is one of the meetups in the background we actually held at TfL. We got like 70 people for that, and we've got about 150 people on our mailing list. So we've actually started from a kind of small beginning. We've actually been able to generate some real interest in data science and transport, which has been fantastic. We've also got involved in the government data science community. Now, we are one of the smallest departments in government. We like to think we punch above our weight in that kind of stuff. When you compare us to the likes of HMRC and DWP, they've got massive teams of data scientists, got consultants. We've just got me and a few people who help out part-time. We feel that we've actually been able to make an impact on that community as well. And I think that government in itself has been pretty late to the party on data science, but we're making up for lost time. We had our first data science conference yesterday, which I was lucky enough to speak at, and there's a real kind of groundswell of movement there. So if any of you are considering a move into a career as a data scientist, I think government's a fantastic place to do it. And as evidenced by me, the bar is perhaps a little bit lower than if you go and want to work on online gambling or whatever. The last thing is, I would say, is that working for Department of Transport in particular, I've been really lucky. I was actually offered a job at HMRC and DfT, and I actually picked DfT, and I'm so glad I did, because I've actually been able to make so many friends across academia, innovators, and most importantly startups, people doing kind of crazy stuff in transport, that I'm actually able to kind of go out and meet them, bring them into DfT, showcase what they're doing, and kind of generate a bit of excitement for them. And that's the kind of thing running through the kind of digital innovation as well. The second thing I want to talk about, I'm just going to have a quick swig of beer, is prototypes. As mentioned before, on my own, I can't build massive software programs. I can't build massive neural networks, all that kind of stuff. So I actually have to build small, focused, little kind of programs that actually try and generate a bit of excitement. And I'm actually going to showcase a couple of them for you here today. The two I'm going to showcase you are the public consultations and our data visualization application. So this kind of moving on from the first talk, it's really important to understand your business. And I actually was fortunate enough to go out and spend a day sitting with one of our policy teams who were actually doing a public consultation. Now, basically, a public consultation is whereby we think of where we're going to introduce a new policy. That might be a third runway at Heathrow. And what we do is we write out to the public and we ask them what they think. In this particular instance, we were looking at cycling and walking infrastructure. We posed 5 questions to the public, and they actually sent us 4,000 responses. And those 4,000 responses came via a variety of different media. However, we, as a department and as a government, we actually manually process those. So what we have, every time we run one of these things, someone in policy has to go into each email, they have to copy and paste out all of the stuff out of the email. So not only the text, the metadata, the date it was sent, they have to paste that into an Excel spreadsheet. They then have to open up any attachments. They have to paste all the data from the attachments into the Excel spreadsheet as well. And the whole process is time-consuming, boring, and it's an absolute nightmare. And it's a really shitty job for policy to have to do as well. Additionally, then what they do, they don't do any kind of formal, there's no really formal, no natural language processing going on in a wide scale across government, or at least there wasn't. So they kind of read through the spreadsheet and think, well, it's kind of saying this. And for the particularly big consultations, for example, I mentioned the third runway at Heathrow, we're actually contracting that out to an external organisation at a vast expense to the taxpayer. So one of our prototypes, which we applied, was focused on the 2 pain points. Which in this case were the collation of the data, so the copying and pasting, and then the analysis. The solution, what it did, you save the files into a directory, you pressed a button, it would actually open all those emails, it would save all the data down, it would look for the correct question structure, so it would use fuzzy matching and machine learning to identify where the questions were and extract the text between them, so you didn't actually have to split the text down. Then it would save the data into an Excel spreadsheet, because policy like Excel spreadsheets, they weren't really interested in anything whizzy like a web application. And it also then builds and visualizes a topic model. Now, I've got a demo of that topic model here, which I'm going to show you. Has anyone seen this package before? Yes. This is my favourite thing in the world. It's absolutely fantastic. So what this is, I can say this is absolutely brilliant, beautiful visualization because I didn't do it. It's actually a package called LDA-Viz. There's an R1 called LDA-Viz. There's a Python one called PyLDA-Viz. I strongly suggest, if you've got any natural language processing to do, I strongly suggest you check it out because it's fantastic. What it shows you, it splits the data into topics. So I'm going to move over here. So each one of these circles represents a topic, with the distance between the topics representing how similar or different they are. And all the words on the left-hand side are the words that actually appear in the text corpus as a whole. When you hover over a topic, you'll see that it changes. So if we hover over topic 5, the top 4 responses to topic 5 are sight, blind, people, and partial. So that's actually a topic about blind and partially sighted people. Similarly, for topic 6, the top 4 responses are hospital, injury, admission, and accident. So that's actually a topic about road safety. Now you'll notice that we've got 2 really big topics, topics 1 and 2. And when we hover over those, you'll see that the actual distribution of the actual words is very, very strict, very, very uniform. So we've got all of these words appearing in the text exactly the same number of times. And when we actually looked in the kind of the data, we found out that we actually had what we thought were a lot of duplicate responses. I went to policy and said, yeah, you've done something wrong in the spreadsheet. It's, we've got something wrong with the data. And they said, that's, what that is, that's where focus groups and pressure groups will actually contact us. They'll get all of their members to write in saying exactly the same thing. So they actually received, I think, out of the 2,000 emails we received, 4,000 emails we received, 2,000 of them said pretty much exactly the same thing. So when you look at topic 2, for example, you'll see that we've got words in there like equestrian, horse, rider, bridle way, and that's actually a horse riding pressure group saying to us, you forgot about horse riders. So, and what the real value and the kind of the real, I mean, if we'd have just done the automation, that they would have loved it. But what we were actually able to do with this is bring the data to life and actually tell a story with it, highlight a few kind of smaller topics and actually say, well, it's picked up the stuff that you know about as well. Oh, wrong one. So that was the first demo we did. The second one I'll whiz through slightly quicker. It's not really data science. It's more of a data visualization thing. When DfT go and ask the Treasury for money, we send an army of highly paid bureaucrats with touching lots of piles of PowerPoint presentations into the Treasury, and we do battle with their army of highly paid bureaucrats. And the Chancellor of the Exchequer actually set us a challenge. He gave us a bit of a bollocking, and he set us a challenge saying, you've got to be better at dynamically and engaging displaying geographic data. So we came up with an app, a data visualization app platform, that we could use to display a lot of that data. So when we want to ask for money for a particular, so we want to ask for how many billions of pounds for road schemes, we can actually load all the data into our application and actually present it that way. So it's interactive. If you click on an area, you'll see that the graph changes. You hover over the graph, it's all nice and pretty. For those, does anyone here do web development? No one. Wow, that's interesting. One. Okay. I found that actually two. Great. I found that this to be one of the more valuable skill sets. Part of the reason I didn't learn R was so I could learn this, and that's actually really helped kind of bring the data to life a little bit. That's something to consider anyway. So what we can do is we can actually drill in. So if we want to look a bit more at the northeast, we can hit the Show Me More button. Again, we've got nice with the interactive charts. The information displays contextually, and we can actually zoom in on individual schemes. And we can start to look at an overview of the scheme. And the most powerful thing about it is that we can actually bring up a map of the scheme itself and actually start to show our modelling at a kind of lower level. So this is what currently happens in terms of congestion, in terms of road casualties, in terms of journey times. This is what's going to happen, what we think is going to happen if we make these improvements. So those were the two prototypes that we spent about 6-7 months kind of developing and delivering those. And they actually helped us get a lot of traction, which was really, really important. And I'll talk about a little bit about why that is at the end. The last thing I want to talk about is digital innovation. And I said that's kind of been just as important for us as a data science team as it has the kind of the data science stuff that we've been doing. We've actually tried to adopt a lot more digital tools, methodologies. So like programs like Slack, for example. Who here has heard of Slack? Okay, Trello, Asana, Git, version control, all that kind of stuff, which is really, really important when you actually want to build stuff collaboratively. And also we've adopted Agile as our methodology as well. So we have short sprints. Who here has heard of or used Agile? Yeah, it's most of you, I thought that would be the case. We've actually started to adopt Agile. So whenever we build whenever we have a project, we have a lot of scrums, we focus on trying to deliver stuff that the user need and so on. And we try not to waste time and effort with crap like paperwork, which is a big thing for government. I was also really glad that the first presentation mentioned hackathons as well, because I'm a big lover of hackathons. We started getting involved in hackathons pretty much from the get-go. I actually set a challenge at Create, which was the Transport Systems Catapult Hackathon. And I was actually, I participated and acted as a mentor on HackTrain. Has anyone heard of HackTrain? Okay, only one person. Yeah, so the HackTrain, let me tell you, it's the craziest hackathon ever. It's a hackathon aboard a train. Not just one, the biggest one they did 3 trains going throughout throughout the UK and Europe simultaneously, 120 people over the course of 48 hours. Absolutely amazing event, and the guys that you see there is just so inspiring, some of the stuff that you can actually get delivered in 48 hours. And that really inspired me and us as an organisation as well, and that inspired us to set up our own little kind of internal hack club. And that was about 20 of us who were interested in kind of data and developing and coding, and we actually started to solve little problems that around DfT in the kind of basement over the course of 2 days. We've held 2 hack clubs, and some of the stuff that we actually held at did at Hack Club, it was so well received that they actually decided to do an external hackathon, an external facing hackathon called DfT Hacks. I'm modelling the t-shirt. It took place around about a month ago. Part of it was in this very offices, and today we actually have the final cut of the video. I've not seen the final cut yet, but I am going to share it with you now because it gets me out of 5 minutes or so of talking. So.
It's Friday afternoon. I'm in the Department for Transport, and we're here at the first ever cross-modal DfT hackathon with 60 people thinking up bright ideas for how to improve the transport sector.
So impressed and proud that DfT have the biggest and best hackathon that the government has ever run.
I'm really excited to be part of what HackTrain are doing, because this is game changing.
It's a great way of getting access to some incredible minds and really challenge the way that we think and we operate.
Technology is the future of the transport industry.
Using technology to optimise the capacity you've got is critical.
We know that the only way you can predict the future is to create it, so we've got to be part of this, and that means getting some data out there.
We're seeing huge shifts. Innovation is at the core of that. It will change rail completely, and we believe that with Hacktrain and the guys working on hacks, we can come up with great ways of using data.
Transport is being transformed through technology and innovation, and here in DfT we need to be on the cutting edge of that. We need to understand what's going on, we need to understand how we can get out of the way if we need to get out of the way, and how we can create the right environment for innovation to benefit passengers, customers and the whole country.
We have a great team, so it's looking very positive at these early stages.
So we're at Trainline headquarters in London. The teams have settled in, most of them are pretty sure on what they're doing. Then now they're getting on with the actual coding.
What our idea is we're going to drastically reduce the cost of conducting the National Transport Survey.
We've developed an app that will show you the nearest one that's available.
I'm really excited for tomorrow being Sunday and the final day and seeing what the team developed. There's some really cool ideas.
At this moment we really don't know how it's going to turn out, but we just have a rough idea.
We'll see what way to go and see what happens.
The teams really had to step up gear and they had to just work through the night.
At the Reading bus depot after a 2-hour trip from London. Right now we're sat where we'll be spending the next 12 hours hacking.
We've got 60 odd people all working away and we'll be working through the night.
Nobody else is doing this in the bus industry. I don't think anybody else in the transport industry is doing this kind of hackathon within a bus workshop environment. They're coding, they're taking apart data from ourselves and from our other partners as well. It's really exciting for Reading buses.
2 a.m. We've been working all night on our presentation and the technology. We made some good progress. We're going to see how we are at the end of the night, but I'm currently feeling pretty good about it.
I stayed up last night and the night before, and I feel so good. I feel like my life has changed.
The teams have been up all night building their prototypes, they've been innovating, they've been iterating. It's now time to pitch their solutions to the judges. I can't wait to see the judges' reaction.
Wonderfully, considering on the bus we were still hackers.
I'd be happy if we won, but I don't expect it because there were some great players today.
Goes near to walk, goes to query.
We just won, we're pretty excited. We put a lot of hard work in, we stayed up all night, but the effort was totally worth it.
And actually really sparked a lot of ideas in our kind of DfT partners here, and it just felt like a home run.
By the way, the unknown guy is actually Dave Slocum, who works for the Trainline, so that was quite apt. Yeah, don't tell him that we forgot his name, he won't like that. So yeah, that was the DfT hackathon. It was I can tell you it's like 4 or 5 times as much fun as it looked there. Particularly in the training offices here, what you don't know is they have the largest collection of Nerf guns I've ever seen. And there was a full-on firefight with those, which was pretty good, that we couldn't show in the video for obvious reasons. But what the other thing that's interesting is some of the stuff that's came out, and we're trying to employ 2 or 3 of the hackers that came along to that in DfT, is either as permanent staff or contractors, and 2 of the hacks themselves were actually interested in funding and taking forward. So I think hackathons are actually a fantastic way if you do have, the creative, you can code. They're a really good way of trying to actually kind of, showcase your skills to potential employers and maybe even make a career for yourself. So that was the kind of third thing. I mean, kind of when I started, if you'd have told me that we would be doing that thing 2 years down the line, that was absolutely fantastic. Managed to get the kind of the head of the organisation involved as well. And all of these little things that we've been able to do, the community, the prototypes, the kind of the hackathons, that's meant that we've actually now kind of won some funding, and that's really difficult to do in government. So we're actually recruiting, we're going to be expanding our team, and we're going to be recruiting additional 2 data scientists. We're going to be getting a team of software developers. We're going to be getting some agile resource, business analysts and so on to actually bring a lot of the kind of data science prototypes that we've got to life. To that end, we've created our new data science vision, which is how we're going to run data science in DfT for the next year. We're setting up a data science hub as well, which is basically just like a collection of geeky people sat at desks doing data sciencey things. But the most exciting thing is our projects. We've got some really fantastic projects lined up in aviation, maritime, rail, and we're also starting to look at new data sources such as mobile phone data. And we are going to be doing DfT Hacks 2 at some point. So if that looked like fun, I look forward to receiving your applications soon.